What's up, everybody? Thanks for stopping by the channel. I'm Jared. This is the LVME, and today I've got a little story to tell you. Now, that video title that you clicked on, that is not clickbait. That is 100% legit. In fact, my girlfriend was there for all of this, and she was 100% convinced that I was going to get shot by the cops. But before we get to that, let's lay a little bit of backstory, okay? So about 6 weeks ago, my girlfriend's car gets stolen, and it was super shady circumstances. She's driving on the highway late at night. Her rear tire blows out. She has to pull over underneath the underpass. Doesn't have a spare tire in the vehicle. Has to call for roadside assistance through her insurance. This is like midnight. Okay, then she calls me. I go pick her up. The car just sits there, waiting for the tow truck to come. The tow truck that the insurance company called, it takes them all through the next day to go pick up the vehicle. And by the time they picked it up, the repair shop where we get our stuff fixed had already been closed. So they called her at work, and she told them just drop the vehicle off there, put the keys in the lockbox, etc. Routine stuff for auto repair, right? So the next morning we get up, have some coffee, and after an hour or so we call the repair shop, and they're like, "What are you talking about? We don't have your car." We hustle our asses over there, and they never got the vehicle, is the short story. Like, the keys weren't in the drop box, the vehicle was not there, and she winds up having to call the police so that the insurance can proceed with the matter. And the cops, to me, it's pretty clear the tow truck company had something to do with this. I mean, the vehicle didn't drive. How could somebody have stolen it, right? Like, it had to be someone either working at the tow company or the company itself. And they had already pulled some shady shit beforehand. This wasn't a company that we used. It was who her insurance had called and set up, okay? So anyways, short story is, cops never do a thing. We never hear back. They never go to the repair shop. And this car, the insurance valued it at $15,000. So it wasn't like it was some, $1,000 car. When she filed the police report, they told her it was grand larceny. I mean, it was like a class 4 felony or some shit. So anyways, she's in a rental car through the course of all this. All right. So fast forward to, just last week here. She's in the rental car. She's at my house, my apartment. Actually, I got a condo. Okay. I live in West Vegas, and I got a condo in a little community out here. And I'm in the back half, and these have outdoor entrances, okay? So there's a unit with like 4, so I got a neighbor beside me, and then 2 above me. We all have our own little doors, our own little area, okay? And then right outside my front door is like a patio area, okay? And then there's a little gravel hill that goes down, and then there's a road, the parking, and then over here on the right side is the end of the lot. There's gates, but they're closed, like they don't open. So to get out, you have to go back around and go up this way, past my place, go up, and then around to the front. So I'm literally like in the back corner of the complex. And like I said, it's all separate entrances, all right? So we're sitting on my couch, we're watching some TV, hanging out, doing our thing, and my window's open right over here, and I hear some yelling and some other shit going on, all right? And when I look out my window, I can see my girlfriend's rental car is right there, okay? And they're not parked in the slots. Like, we have covered parking for residents, and then there's like additional parking, okay? And like, my girlfriend's car is out there against the wall, okay? And then my daughter's car is one in front of it, and there's another car in the middle, okay? And I can see them all from my window as I'm sitting right there. And all of a sudden, over the TV and all the noise that we got going on, I hear all this shattering and breaking of glass and a lot of yelling, screaming, and it sounds like some drama is popping the fuck off, okay? Now, I get up, I look outside my window, and right down at the end of the complex, right, there's like a row of covered parking, and then there's like another building with other units just like mine out there. I see a group of like 5 dudes and 1 woman, and they're throwing these massive rocks up over the covered parking zone and into a second-story window of the condo right down there, like bunches of them. And I'm like, oh shit is popping off. Then they turn around to the covered cars that are right there, and they pick up a rock and they start bashing on the cars. And I'm like, oh, hell no. Like, this is not happening. Like, you're not fucking up my girlfriend's rental car after her shit has been stolen. You're not fucking up my daughter's car. You're not fucking up my car. You're not coming. I mean, I know all these people, they have to go right by my front door, like 15 feet away from my front door. They all are going to be trying to get out of here. And I'm just not having it. Like, I'm not calling the cops. I handle this shit. So I grab a weapon and I grab this Fox Labs 5.3 riot control pepper spray, which, as a side note, I really recommend. Like, if you have a loved one or someone that you feel needs some additional protection and you might think of getting them some mace or something, I don't recommend mace, because sometimes mace and things like it, they only piss people off. Like, and you don't want your loved one or someone you care about needing to be, some form of non-lethal self-defense and spraying that and only making the aggressor get more upset. So I'll tell you, hold on real quick. I didn't prepare for this. Hold on. Look for this right here. This Fox Labs, this 5.3 million Scovilles, this military grade law enforcement formula. This will control a crowd of 25. I've had to use it before. It's like nothing out on the market. It's in fucking insane. Military grade. Anyway, so I grab that and I grab a 9 and I go out my front door, because I'm telling you, I'm not going to have this. My stuff isn't getting fucked up, and it's just not happening. So I go out my front door and it's lit up, so they can see me standing there. And I'm not a fool. I just stood there with the pepper spray in one hand and my piece in the other hand, and they all went by, and then they stopped and they're looking at me because they were starting to run and like they were going to hit other cars. And then they started doing, this one, like, hey, 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 and pointing at me. I just fucking stared at them, and then they started moving fast, running a bit to get away from where I was. And then there was one dude like straggling behind, like this big old dude coming up in a wife beater. These look like a bunch of gangbangers, all right, who I'm quite familiar with. I grew up around that shit. That's my bag. It's all good. So I go out. I go down towards my girlfriend's car because I don't want to get them on one side, this dude on the other side, and then something happened with on the vehicle. So I go down towards her car so I can have my back against her vehicle to make sure nobody fucks with it. The dude sees me, and then he kind of takes off running too, right? And then they jump in 2 different vehicles, and then they peel out, they go up, and they turn to the right, okay? And by this time now, some of my other neighbors have seen what's going on, right? And they come out, they're talking to me over their patio, like, and I'm like, yeah, yo, I'm your neighbor. I just live right there. I was coming out to take her my girlfriend's car. And like, what's going on? We heard all this glass breaking and blah, blah, blah. We'll talk to them for a minute. And then we have on-site security here. It's just like one security guy, right? He just drives around in his little car, whatever. I see him. He's walking, though. He's walking down towards me down this long stretch. I told you it's got that long stretch of road, right? So I'm like, okay, well, there's security coming. I can see him. And then the ghetto bird starts swooping in. All right, so the ghetto bird, police helicopter, if you don't know what I'm talking about. So the police helicopter comes in, and they're shining down everywhere, shining down on me, my neighbors, around, just doing what the ghetto bird does. Right. Security comes down. I tell him what had happened, and he says to me, he says, "Oh my God, that must be the people in the 2 cars that almost just ran me over." And I was like, "Yeah, dog, that's clearly what's going on." So the ghetto bird is swooping. The security guy is there. I figure, I can hear sirens in the background. I'm like, cool, cops are on this thing. I'm gonna go back inside, you know. So I go back inside. I put my stuff away, and then I can hear more and more sirens coming. I said to my girlfriend, I'm like, well, see what happens here. Hopefully they, figure out what's going on. Whatever. It's no longer my business. I only cared about, honestly, just my people's stuff. I'm not trying to save the neighborhood or some shit. All right, just keeping it real. So, we hear cops coming. They come through the thing. We can see their lights flashing, through my window and other stuff. And then nothing really happens. Some of my other neighbors come out, and they're talking with the group of neighbors that I had spoke with earlier. And I can hear police, but I can't really see them. So I go up and I look out that same window, okay, where I could see everybody. And I'm kind of looking over, and up against where the staircase that leads to the 2 units upstairs, I can see cops' feet. I can hear them talking. I can see their cop shoes poking over the thing. There's like two standing there side by side, but they're not coming around where I am. I'm like, what are they doing? Like the drama's down there, like the broken glass, the apartment with all this shit. That's all down that way. So, I mean, I'm not real surprised. Look, I don't mean to be disrespectful to police, but I don't put my faith in police. I've had a lot of interactions when I was younger, the type of individual that I was at that time, and it's just whatever. I don't call cops; it's just not my thing. And I'm just like, what are they doing? So I sit back down. Then I hear more noise. 5, 6 minutes go by. My neighbor over there, I can hear him because my window is still wide open. I can hear her talking. She goes, I'm going to go tell those police officers that those guys ran off or something along those lines. And she starts walking towards my unit. And all of a sudden, you hear all this yelling, ma'am, stop right where you are. Like screaming at her, telling her to back up, stop, remain where she, or proceed no further forward, and to go back to the porch that she had been standing by, or better yet, to get her ass inside, basically. Or like yelling it in their deep, authoritative cop voices. And I'm just like, man, what the fuck? Like, do they really think like these guys are still here? Like, what are we doing? And so I sit back down for a minute, and I'm like, I'm gonna go look out my peephole because I can hear them. Like I can hear the fact that there's a large group of cops not too far out in the front. Like I don't understand what they're doing. So I go up front, right, and I look through my peephole. Now, like I said, I've got wide open space in front of me in the back of this complex, and we're it's like a gated community. Okay, so we're like walled in. Okay, there's a gate down here, and there's a big wall with like I don't know, like spiky shit at the top of it, right at the back of this nice neighborhood on the other side. And so there's not a whole lot of places for all these cops to stand, is what I'm saying. And there's also like a dumpster like next in my building, like and it's inside a little like concrete housing unit, okay, and with a little roof over it, right next to the covered parking, okay, and then the covered parking goes up that side. So the stretch of covered parking goes down, then there's my unit, and then the stretch of covered parking, and then more units behind it. Glass is getting broke over there. I look through the people, I can see them. There's like a group of police officers, and they're shining their lights, right? But they're shining them at my door. Like I can tell looking through them. And I at this point, I am just like, what the fuck? Like, here we go again. Like you're fucking. I don't know what this nonsense is, but I'm gonna deal with it. So I open my door, right? Just open my fucking door. Dear Lord, did that set the police off? Oh my God. Immediately they start yelling and screaming, shining their lights on me. The ghetto bird swoops right back over, shining down. Like there's a unit above me, and so there's a porch above me, so it's not like they can't see me yet because I'm in my door. But they're right there, shining the light, as close as they can get. And the cops are screaming and yelling it for me to come outside, stick my hands up, come outside the front door. And like I can't tell how many of them there are. I just know there's a group of them because they're shining their lights all up in my face. My door's only open about this far, and so I'm in my socks. I'm in a pair of a fucking big baggy shorts, like a t-shirt. Not too similar to what I'm wearing right now. And I'm like, yo, I need to put some shoes on because I don't want to go outside and step on all this gravel and all this other shit and go down in the parking lot in my nice clean white socks. All right. And I'm like, yo, I'm gonna get my shoes, and that trips him out even more. Just start yelling and screaming, telling me not to move, just step outside. So I got to step outside the front door. All right, I go outside. I'm under the overhang. I got my hands up. They are all grouped maybe 20, 25 feet away over by the dumpster, slightly to my left. The ghetto bird is now in full force, and they're screaming at me. All these cops, and they're shining their lights in my face, and all six of them got guns out. Like I don't know this at the time because their lights are all in my face, and the ghetto bird is now being able to get in my face as well. But I know that there's a bunch of lights and cops screaming. But my girlfriend is behind me, sitting on the couch, and she can see all this. Okay, and I'm getting annoyed, honestly. Like, I'm fucking annoyed. I'm starting to get pissed because I've done nothing wrong here, and this is bullshit. And I'm not scared, and I'm not saying that to like oh I'm so tough. It's just look, it's not the first time I've had guns in my face. And keeping it real, it's not the first time that I've had cops point guns in my face. So this is just whatever. Like they're screaming, but the problem is I can't hear them. And it's been a while. Like I don't cause trouble anymore. I've been a single dad. I've been raising my daughter. I've been on the straight and narrow here. My daughter's just recently grown now where I don't have to be necessarily so straight and narrow focused if I choose to be, or I can go out and, whatever. She's old enough. But I haven't interacted with the cops in this way in a long time. And the last time I got arrested in this regard, where there's a bunch of cops pointing guns at me, I stuck my hands up, I turned around, I got down on my knees, I put my hands on my head. That's what I'm expecting to do in this scenario. But they're yelling some shit at me, and I can't fucking hear them because the ghetto bird is right there, loud as fuck in my face. And so I'm yelling back at the cops. I'm literally like, I can't fucking hear you. And they're screaming at me to keep my hands up and to turn sideways, basically. I get this after several back and forths, and they want me to go down the gravel hill sideways with my hands up in the air in my socks. And I'm just annoyed as fuck at this. And so I'm just like, I'm yelling at them that I can't fucking hear them. They're wanting me to turn some way, but I'm trying to tell them I can't. So I'm leaning forward, put my hand on my ear, and I'm getting pissed. My girlfriend can tell I'm getting pissed. She sees me like basically talking shit and getting annoyed and not following directions. 6 cops all screaming at me, fanned out, and she's like, "That's it. My boyfriend's gonna get shot. I'm gonna be sitting here on the fucking couch. My boyfriend's gonna get shot right the fuck in front of me because he's so mad about wearing his socks and going down the gravel." But it wasn't just that. It wasn't the sock. I couldn't hear him. All right, so finally I get what they want me to do. So they have me go down sideways down the hill, which is super awkward. I don't understand this scenario. And then the ghetto bird is still right in my face, and they're screaming more at me. And I still think I'm going to get down on my knees, right, and put my hands over my head like old school style. So, but they're saying something else, and I still can't hear them. But at this point, they're behind me, and I'm not retarded. I know I can't turn around. They're going to take that as an aggression. So I'm like screaming. I'm just like, I can't fucking hear you. That's all I kept saying until finally they make the ghetto bird backs off. Like, it doesn't back off. It's like it goes up about 10 or 15 feet in the air, and I can hear a little bit better. So they're telling me to walk backwards, one step at a time, one step every second. And they're like still 20 fucking feet away. So this seems like an exaggerated period of time that I'm just walking backwards, and I certainly can't turn around and look at these motherfuckers because I don't want to get shot. I'm annoyed, but I don't have a death wish. So I finally get back by the dumpsters, and then they just all swoop me up. 4 cops grab me, okay? 4 of them. I'm in my socks, dog. And they start just hauling me back. They just grab me and start hauling me back. And I told you how there's like the covered parking is right along there, okay? And then we're coming up to my vehicle. I got a 4-wheel drive, okay, SUV. And now 2 of the other cops back off and leave me with just 1 because they slapped the cuffs on me. All right, when I first was backed up, they got the cuffs on me the second I backed up and got into them. And then they just hauled me off. Like 2 cops had my arms and 2 were hauling me back. And then it's just the one guy, and he slams me up against the fucking car. And the whole time, I'm just telling the cop, I'm like, yo, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. You got the wrong person. I ain't done a goddamn thing. This is my fucking home. These are my neighbors. The fuck are you doing? Like, I'm pissed, yo. Like, this is fucking bullshit. Like, I'm not being disrespectful, and I'm not offering resistance, but I'm clearly verbalizing this is a bunch of bullshit. You know what I mean? And there's a way that I believe you can do that without being aggressive or being a total asshole, but we have the right to be like no, like fuck no. So he slams me up against the fucking car, tells me to shut the fuck up, and then, which I do. All right, whatever you got to say now, let's hear it. You got me. I'm here. You got me. The fuck do you want? And they start asking me who's in the house, and I can start hearing them in the background. Who's in here? Who's in here? And I'm like, my girlfriend is in there. She doesn't live here. She doesn't even know what's going on right now. And I'm like, my daughter is fucking asleep in the back room because she has to be at work at 4 in the fucking morning. And they're like, how old is your daughter? How old is your daughter? This thing, and she's like a little kid. I'm like, she's over 18. She's a heavy sleeper. And so they get my girlfriend out of the house. The other 2 cops, or whatever, 4 at this point, I'm not even sure because I can't even see her. Like, I can hear something going on. I can hear they're getting her pulled out. And the cop starts telling me about how they had a 911 call about this crazy white boy who's running around down here, pointing guns at all these random people, threatening to shoot them, and this person matches my description. He didn't say crazy white boy. He said Caucasian male, matching my description, pointing guns and threatening to murder people. And I'm like, that's horseshit, you know. So we have to go through this whole routine. They're like, do you have a weapon? Were you down there? And I'm like, yeah, you guys, I'm fucking. You got the wrong person. You got the wrong thing. This is not what happened here. And after a lot of bullshit and back and forth, right, I can hear them. They're trying to wake my daughter up. They're not going into my home, even though the door's wide open, right? But they're yelling from the front door. They're like yelling my daughter's name and saying for her to get up and to come to the front door. And she's not waking up at all. And I'm getting even more pissed because I'm just like, this is bullshit. And finally, the cop comes. One of the other cops comes up and he calls for the dude who's interrogating me to come over, and he whispers in his ear for a minute. And then he comes back to me and he's like, Mr. Cash, we're starting to get some reports here that indicate that you might actually be the victim here in this scenario and not the perpetrator. So if you'll give us a minute here to try and sort this out and just be calm and cool, and we'll get this figured out and we'll go from there. And I'm just like, that's what I've been trying to tell you. And so after, 5 or 6 minutes of this, cop comes back, says, listen, it turns out, the people that basically that, might have done this. We're getting reports now from other neighbors that you were out there trying to prevent damage. You know what I mean? That there was individuals causing fucking a ruckus and breaking shit, and you came out to try and put a stop to it or whatever, which isn't exactly what happened, but it kind of is. And I'm just like, yeah, that's what I was trying to tell you. I didn't do shit, please. And then they're like, they wind up apologizing to me, the dude who had me in cuffs, and then the 5 other officers all come up and they're like, Mr. Cash, we want to offer you our sincerest apologies. I had to laugh. That's an exact quote. Mr. Cash, we'd like to offer you our sincerest apologies. And I'm like cool about it. I'm like, I'm not a dick. Like, I get it. All right. I get it. And I'm just like, it's cool. I don't want to have beef with the fucking police. I'm not asking for badge numbers. I'm not going to Karen it up. I mean, like I said, this isn't my first interaction. That is not the first time. I've had way worse interactions with the cops. I once, when I was 20, 19, I had a cop that had me spread out, SWAT team all around me, and I was on my stomach on the pavement with my neck up like this, so my chin's on the pavement, and he was pointing a pistol right into my forehead, and he's screaming, "Live or die, motherfucker!" Right? So I mean, this compared to that was nothing, right? But it was annoying as fuck. But I got a big bit of a kick out of all 6 of the cops coming up and repeatedly offering their sincerest apologies. And then they asked me what happened, and then I was just like, whatever. I said, some dudes breaking windows. I'm not trying to give police reports here or help out the cops. It's not in my nature. Just personal code of things. So I just gave them a brief rundown of, they broke some windows. You can go down there and see them for yourself. I mean, they're gonna fuck with my girl's car, etc. Apologized a bunch more. They walked me back into my house. I still got my girl trussed up over there. Like, she's cuffed up over by the dumpsters. And I'm like, you're going to let my girl go, right? And they're like, yeah, we're taking care of that right now. We're going to go apologize to her as well. And I'm like, cool. Come up to the front, and I go inside. I go check on my daughter right away. Sound asleep. Slept through the whole fucking thing, which is really dope because, like, I mean, she might be, over the age of 18, but she still doesn't want to wake up and come stumbling out to see 6 cops pointing their pistols at her dad, who's talking shit about his socks. Like, that's not a good way for her to wake up. So lucky she slept through the whole thing. God bless it. God, I wish I could sleep like that. And my girlfriend comes back inside a few minutes later. We sit back down on the couch. We fucking fire up a joint. Cops all come back. Then security comes back. Then my neighbors come out, and they spend I'm not kidding, the next 2.5 hours outside talking to the neighbors all down there, and the security never come back and bother me again, thank God. But what had happened was the group of people the dudes that were doing all that shit, when I came outside and then they got all freaked out and they fucking ran off, one of them called, and I got to hand it to him, it's fairly smart, for some criminal shit. One of them called 911 and reported me as like they were just a concerned citizen. They were like, yeah, we live here and there's just this crazy guy with a gun pointing. He started pointing it at us, and no one did anything. He's running around like a maniac back there, and hence the ghetto bird that came over so quick. Yeah, and the cops, of course, later deduced that that was all bullshit. Hence the apologies and leaving me alone from that point. And that's it. That's my story. That is my interaction with the Las Vegas police. Thanks for watching and hanging out with me, everybody. I hope you find that somewhat entertaining. And if you like the channel, please give me a thumbs up. Think about subscribing. We do reactions, reviews, shit on the local Las Vegas scene, a heavy focus on the hip-hop underground scene here as well. Got an interview with Adam Calhoun coming out because he'll be in town next week for a show. All kinds of fun shit. Got an MMA podcast. All kinds of shit going on around here. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I'll see you on the next one, all right? Peace.